Greetings, friends. So glad you came back to join us. Today, I'm going to be talking with our seminarian, Justin, about Daniel. But before we do that, I'm going to show you a Bible. This is a very interesting Bible. This Bible is very old, and every other page has lines to take notes. Like every other page is like a school notebook paper. And this Bible was actually my father-in-law, my husband's grandfather, I guess my grandfather-in-law, who was actually the pastor at First Presbyterian in Columbia, South Carolina. And so this was his Bible, and I like it because it has places to take notes. So don't be afraid of writing in your Bible if you want to. Now, some people think you shouldn't write in a Bible. If you don't want to write in a Bible, fine, but writing in a Bible is good. Do you write in your Bible?
I have Post-it notes, and I write on the Post-it notes.
Post-it note, that's in between.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so Justin, would you say just a few sentences about yourself?
Sure, yeah. I'm a seminarian for the Diocese of Charleston. I've been a seminarian now for 4 years, and so I just finished my bachelor's in philosophy, which is kind of like the first phase of the process of becoming a priest. You first go to minor seminary, get a bachelor's, and then you go to major seminary and get a master's in theology, God willing.
God willing.
And so that's hopefully where I'm going next.
So if all you viewers could say a prayer for Justin, I'm sure he would appreciate that.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, so you chose Daniel. Why did you choose Daniel?
So I chose the book of Daniel because, one, my middle name is Daniel.
Ah.
Yeah. Two, not so creative, I chose Daniel as my confirmation saint. I just really always enjoyed the story of like Daniel being in the lion's den and all of that. You know, I just thought that was really exciting. But it turns out there's a lot of other good stories in the book of Daniel, and he was a pretty active character.
So do you write Daniel twice in your name when you're writing your whole name?
I haven't, although maybe I will now, yeah.
Okay, so tell us you talked about the Daniel in the lion's den. So that, like, as a child, you liked that.
Right, exactly.
So
yeah.
do you have any memories of why you liked it or how that?
Well, we had a kid's Bible growing up,
Right.
and that was definitely one of the big stories. So I think, like, my two brothers and I would sit with our dad, and he would read some of the stories from the kids' Bible before we went to sleep.
Oh, that's great.
And sure, I remember the story of Daniel and the lions.
That's good.
I mean, it was my middle name, so I thought he was an
That's
awesome guy to
right.
begin with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was. So tell us some things that you learned later about Daniel.
Yeah, so more recently I've been reading about Daniel, and he not only lived in this lion's den for a little while, but he was also an advisor to many kings. He's a character in the Old Testament, and his life is during the exiles of the Jewish people. So they're no longer in the Promised Land, they're exiled. And still he's working with the rulers and advising them several times to several different rulers, talking about dreams and interpreting them. And some of those stories are just really crazy.
Oh, they're crazy,
Yeah.
crazy. Pick one that you like best.
Okay. I really like this one. It's towards the end of the book, and the king has these priests, I think it's of the god Bel or something like that, and these priests have this temple, and they have a stone statue of this god, and they say this is a living statue, and to prove it, we're going to fill his, his temple full of sacrifices, full of food, and the next day they're all going to be gone because the god's going to eat them all. And so they do that, and the king says, okay, this is a real god. And Daniel says, whoa, like this is not a real god. There is only one true God. And so he has them do it again. He has them fill the temple full of food, and then, unknown to the priests of Bel, he surrounds the temple with this white powder, kind of like baby powder, I guess. And the next day they go back into the temple, and they see all the food is gone. But then Daniel calls the priests forward, and they're covered in this white powder. And they had been going through a trap door underneath and going inside and eating the sacrifices themselves. So they were getting fat off what the king thought was sacrifices for this god. So Daniel both showed that they were false priests and also that this was a false god. And so those priests end up losing their life for deceiving the king. Yeah.
Now, one of my favorite stories was when the three of them were thrown into the fire.
Sure, yeah.
That was just when there's a child. You know, the three, he and his two, well, who were the other two?
So it's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah.
So Daniel, so they're all companions. Only
Right.
those three were thrown in the fire.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what I was inspiring to me is they were praising God in the
Right.
fire.
Right.
And then, of course, there was a fourth one.
Right. So there was some kind of a king, and he wanted to be worshipped. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said, "There is only one God. We will not worship a false god."
Mm-hmm.
And so the punishment was to be thrown in this burning hot fire. And apparently the guys that bundled them up and threw them in the fire were incinerated as they were like throwing Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in. And then later the king looked in the fire and he saw not 3 but 4 people walking around.
Right.
Right. So they were totally unburned by the flames.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing miracles.
Amazing. So what are some things we can learn from Daniel?
I think some big takeaways from Daniel are one, that God really is the source of all wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And it says in the scripture that fear of the Lord is the first step to wisdom. And so Daniel, we see him and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they follow the law. They only worship the one true God. And in addition, there's other times where they refuse to even eat unclean foods. They keep the kosher rules of the Jewish people.
That's right. When they were first exiled, they went through that. And Daniel said, let us eat our food for a certain amount of time, and you'll see that we're as healthy as the other people are.
Exactly, yeah.
And they were.
Yeah, the king, he wanted different representatives from the peoples he had conquered to be servants in his court. And so he set aside food from his table to feed them. But some of that was, like you were saying, the unclean food, this unclean meat especially. And Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and Daniel, they told the servant in charge of them that we could not eat this unclean food. But if you just give us water and bread and vegetables, then our God will sustain us and we'll be just as strong as everyone else. And after 10 days, they were not just as strong, but they were stronger looking than everyone else. Right. And when the king looked at the people that he wanted to serve in his court, he saw those 4 that stood out as the healthiest looking.
Yeah.
So God sustained them, even in their sacrifice.
And I think also today, this is a message for us is, if we worship only God and we follow his law, even though we might go through troubled times, he's going to be with us to the end.
Right, yeah, definitely. I also think that there may be an interpretation here that the keto diet is not the diet of Daniel. So if your priest is only eating meat, I don't know. That doesn't seem to be a suggestion of Daniel.
Right.
Maybe a vegetarian diet is the diet of God.
Right, maybe. That's interesting.
Just a loose interpretation, not a theologian yet.
Right, yeah. So Daniel, now is Daniel only in the book of Daniel? Or maybe I'm asking something you don't know just for our viewers and they want to read all about him.
I think you got me. I don't know.
The book of Daniel is a very exciting book to read.
Yeah, definitely. So many good stories.
Yeah.
So many interpretations of dreams.
Right.
And then some crazy revelations.
Yes.
One of which is talking about the Ancient of Days, where Daniel sees this figure that looks like an older man, and he's got like this long flowing white hair and beard, and he looks exactly like, in my opinion, the description they give in the book of Daniel looks exactly like the window in Old St. Mary's, where you have the Father and the Son looking at each other, and the Father's got this long hair.
Right.
So
interesting.
It seems to me like maybe the artist there took some inspiration from the book of Daniel and his description of the Ancient of Days.
Yes. I will say that some of the long descriptions in the Old Testament I find hard to read.
Sure, yeah, right.
But it's worth reading. It's worth reading.
Definitely, yeah. Daniel's got a lot of vibes like the book of Revelation.
Right.
Like horses and animals with 5 heads and stuff like that.
Right.
And what the heck is going on?
Now, Daniel never did get back to Israel, did he?
I don't think so,
I don't
no.
think so. So, sometimes you're going through hard times, and it was horrible to not be in Israel because the sacrifice had to be in the temple.
Yeah.
You know, we live that you can go to your corner church,
Yeah, right.
basically.
Right.
And we can. There's Jesus is there, you know.
He
But
is.
the Jewish people had to be at the temple in Jerusalem.
Right.
You know, and he couldn't be his whole life after he was exiled, but he still worshiped the Lord and, you know, kept his faith.
He did, and he was definitely rewarded. I mean,
And he was rewarded.
you come back to the lion's den, and Daniel's in there, and he's protected from the lions by an angel. So God did not abandon them, even though they weren't able to go to the temple.
Right, right, right.
So a good reminder that God's always with us, and
Always.
maybe that was Daniel's guardian angel. You know, we believe we all have
Maybe.
guardian angels.
Right, right,
But he got to see him and got to see them like hold the lions' mouths shut.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did they feed him? Also, did they feed him in there?
Daniel?
Yeah, I may misremember.
Okay, so there's actually two stories.
There are two stories.
Yeah. So Daniel is twice in a lion's den,
Ah.
and or it's a repeat. In one of the stories, it doesn't talk about Daniel getting any food, but in the other one, it talks about an angel going to another country, picking up a man with some food, having that man drop the food into the lion's den for Daniel to eat, and then the angel picks that man back up and takes him back to his home country.
All exciting books for y'all to read, all kinds of stories
Yeah.
that y'all can read. Very exciting.
Super great
Very
stories.
exciting.
Yeah.
So, any last couple comments before we end?
I think just that Daniel obeyed the law,
Obey the law.
that he was extremely wise, so he got something in return, kind of, for following God's law. And two, let's see, maybe a final thought would be that Daniel was not afraid to engage in the public square.
Right.
You know, I mean, he advised the kings who were not Jewish.
Yeah, and we're pagan. I mean, and
Right.
we're the conquerors of Israel, so they
Right.
were sort of bad guys in that sense.
Yeah.
But yes, that's right.
But still, Daniel helped them, helped for
That's
the common
right.
good of all.
That's right.
And yet he did not deny his faith.
Yes.
So he's a
yes.
good example for us there.
Very good. I hadn't thought about that. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. And at work, to be, if you're, you know, wherever you work hard, put all your effort into it, but
Yeah.
not anything that would deny your faith.
Right, of course. That's where
Yeah.
you draw the line.
That's where you draw the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, that's good.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for coming. Between now and
Thank
then,
you.
if you could say a prayer for Justin and a prayer for myself and for the parish, and we'll remember you in our prayers. God bless you.
Thank you all. God bless.